I'm dying. Those mobs really got me. Better get back to the TARDIS. Gotta get out of here. I don't think I'll make it much longer. I don't want to go.
I've changed, and it seems that a moment too soon.
Hey guys, T-Bo2 here, back with another TARDIS tutorial. I know it's been about a month since I last made one of these, but the schedule is a little bit crazier. So yeah, we've got one now. This feature took me about 3 days to actually get right, so yeah, or else I could have probably made it a teeny bit sooner. But yeah. So you can probably already see from the scoreboard on the side what this is going to be. It's regeneration. Make you a Time Lord, you can regenerate. Basically, it does what you'd probably expect. So I've changed the world a little bit, so if I were to die right now, in creative or survival, I would lose my items. Oh, and I guess I'd spawn inside the TARDIS. It's probably from my testing this, but yeah, no big deal. Okay, so as you just saw, I can die normally, obviously, but the real thing comes when you actually get regenerations and become a Time Lord. And how do you do that? Well, I was inspired on basically how to get the regenerations from Neark. You might know him from YouTube or from my Discord server. He does some pretty cool animations and very, very, very impressive TARDIS with a friend of his, and he also happened to have regeneration. And basically the way you get regeneration in order to make it kind of hard to get, since it's pretty darn OP, is you actually need to use a enchanted golden apple. So yeah, basically you made it very hard to get, but you know, still possible, and it makes sense that it would be tough to get. It's very overpowered, as I said. So yeah, let's eat the enchanted golden apple, see what happens. Biology modified, you are now a Time Lord. And you can see my regenerations count on the side has gone up to 12. I now have 12 regenerations, because I am now a Time Lord. So, now what? Well, now we just kind of die, basically. But before we do that, I just wanted to show you, I also made this, the Chameleon Arch, which you may remember from a couple of episodes now. The little fob watch that basically just allowed the Doctor to turn himself into a human, and basically I just used this as a method of reversing the regeneration. So we do this, and biology modified, you're now a human, and you can see my regenerations has gone back down to 0. So yeah, that's how you switch between being a Time Lord who can regenerate and not being one. So yeah, obviously I have these effects from the golden apple, just normal stuff, but yeah, they're probably going to make it a little harder to kill myself, but let's just do this. Summon zombie. And of course they're burning, but spawn a couple of zombies and they're going to gradually kill me. Now I'm going to die. All the zombies are dying, so waste of time. Anyway, come on, hurry up. Hurry up, kill me. Please. I'm asking you to for once. Yes. You can see something's happening. There's flames, there's a ringing sound. And check that out, you hit respawn, and I did not move. I didn't respawn in the TARDIS or up there. I respawned exactly where I died, in a shower of flames, and yeah, I kept my items. Keep inventory is now on when you're a Time Lord. And you can see my regenerations count has gone down. Now, one little weird bug I've noticed is that sometimes when you first get the golden apple, if you try to regenerate like too soon, then the very first regeneration you get actually won't work. So like going from 12 down to 11, it won't, and it'll just respawn you normally. But yeah, it's a strange bug, but if you just like leave it for like a minute, it'll actually like fix itself, at least from what I've seen. So before we get on to more stuff, I just want to show you that you have that little regeneration effect down at the bottom. And if you look, we actually have a regeneration effect for 15 minutes. And let me just show you that if I summon, say, something that'll kill me a little faster, a creeper, I won't die, because this is actually just a very, very high regeneration effect for 15 minutes. That basically makes you kind of immortal. And the reason I did that was in reference to, what was the episode? The Christmas Invasion, I think. And the 10th Doctor mentioned that because he was in the first 15 hours of his regeneration, he could effectively regrow limbs and stuff, so I basically copied that, except I didn't make it 15 hours, I made it 15 minutes, just to be a little less overpowered. Because 15 hours is a lot in a video game that you're probably not going to be playing for 15 hours straight, unless you're insane. So let me just clear that real quick so I can show you myself dying again. So let's just say that again I come into contact with Creeper, and oh no! And then I hit respawn, and bam! I am respawned. And you kind of saw like a villager for a second. I'll show you what it looks like when I regenerate in third person here, just so you can see what happens. You can see it actually summons a villager at where I died, and the villager's kind of got flames over his face. Kind of just supposed to obviously make it look like I'm still there with the regenerating effect on me, basically, is kind of what that's supposed to simulate, and then obviously I respawn at those exact coordinates. So yeah, in a multiplayer setting, it'll kind of just look like you're still there, except it'll kind of look like a villager for a moment. But yeah, this I don't know, because like this doesn't work perfectly in multiplayer yet, so that really isn't necessarily necessary. But I mean, I think it's cool, so I'm gonna keep it even until I make this thing compatible with multiplayer, which it kind of isn't at the moment. I haven't tested it in multiplayer, but I'm assuming it won't work very well. So yeah, let's try this again. Clear the effect, and I just wanted to show you that it works even when you're relatively far away from the TARDIS, as you saw. And yeah, I'm down to 8 regenerations. Let's get us down to 0. Okay, so now we're at the final regeneration, and if I just clear my effect and spawn the creeper, you'll see what happens once I get to 0. So I regenerated one last time, but now that my regenerations are 0, I have actually, it didn't do the message or anything, but I am actually now reverted back to a human. You can see if I tried to do that with the Chameleon Arch, it does not work because I am technically already human. So what I have to do at this point, if I want to regenerate more, is eat another golden apple. I'm not going to do that yet because I wanted to show you again what happens when I die now. I am basically back to normal. I just lost all my items and had to respawn back in my bed. Alright, so how does this all work? Well, this relies a lot on scoreboards and data tags, so the first thing you want to do is actually run a command which is scoreboard. That's not scoreboard. Scoreboard, objectives, add, and then I just called it regeneration. And then it's gonna tell this is basically just saying right here what are we trying to track with this scoreboard? Well, we are trying to track Minecraft.used : Minecraft enchanted golden apple And basically just do that, press enter, and it'll add regeneration, or regenerations with an S in this case. And it'll add a scoreboard that basically is called regenerations, and it tracks when you eat a golden apple. Okay. So next, we got this command block, tests for the golden apple eaten, and gives that player the TIMELORD data tag. So we come here to this always active repeating command block, and I'll just show you the command right here. Execute as at a scores equals regenerations equals 1, which is in brackets. It's basically meaning when you gain that regeneration score from eating the golden apple, run tag at S, add TIMELORD, and basically all that means is at the player who got that score, you're going to tag themselves with TIMELORD. So yeah, basically you do chain, conditional, always active, and they'll just run right after this. So yeah. Then we did title at a tag equals TIMELORD, title biology modified. So all I did there literally is just had it basically tell me my biology has been modified, and then I did another title to the tag of TIMELORD, which is subtitle, you are now a TIMELORD. So to say biology modified, you are now a TIMELORD. And then to the more technical stuff, we have scoreboard players set at a tag equals TIMELORD, regenerations 12. It'll basically just turn that number of regenerations up to 12 for the tag of TIMELORD. And then finally we have scoreboard players set, that same player, deaths 0. So we also have another one that counts deaths. I'll show you how to set that up. It's just scoreboard, objectives, add, deaths, and then literally you just write death count. Here it is. You just literally just write this, and now you'll have a scoreboard called deaths that is tracking your death count. Now if you want to be able to see your regeneration scoreboard on the side of the screen like that, you actually need to run this command, scoreboard objectives, set display sidebar regenerations. And then as soon as you have at least one regeneration, it should pop up on the side of the screen. If not, just manually add yourself a regeneration with this command, scoreboard, players, add, just yourself, so, and then just add regenerations 1. Just add a regeneration. Okay, but I have it right here in a repeating command block, repeating always active. So yeah, that'll basically put that there. I have this thing, which isn't really strictly necessary, because it kind of just automatically does this for you, but this basically limits your regenerations to 12. So I have this repeating always active, and it just says scoreboard players remove at a scores regenerations equals 13. So once you have 13 regenerations, it'll remove 1 to bring you back down to 12. And then I have a chain command block using a title command to tell that player who now has 12 regenerations, that 12 regenerations is the limit. So yeah. It's not really... Okay, so how would you actually get in a situation like that? That would be if you ate the golden apple, and then you tried to improve your amount of regenerations by eating a golden apple again, which I would not really recommend doing, just because it kind of throws off the numbers once you actually start regenerating, because none of this really interacts with the actual score. Well, it does, just not from you, let's just say you died a couple of times and you had 5 regenerations, then you ate one of these and it gave you, now you have 6, or at least it says you have 6, you don't actually have 6. So I just recommend not eating any more of these until you have 0 regenerations and want to give yourself some. So yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go here real quick just because it's here. Here's the chameleon arch. Basically start here and end. Basically it's executing if the entity has in their offhand the clock with the name chameleon arch. That's simple, we've done that before. Run scoreboard players set at a tag equals TIMELORD, regeneration 0. So if you hold the command arch, it sets it back to 0 and then activates these. This one just uses title to tell someone that now has regenerations of 0 that their biology is modified, and then subtitle that you are now human. Then over here, tiny delay, and then we have executing if that entity, again, has the chameleon arch in their offhand, run tag at a, tag equals Time Lord, remove Time Lord. So yeah, they're no longer a Time Lord. And then finally, this one, it teleports this armor stand here back to this coordinate, which, as I've very nicely marked with 0, implying you have 0 regenerations, then the armor stand should be here. So yeah, what's the armor stand actually doing? That's right here. So basically execute if entity at a tag equals Time Lord, comma death, or scores equals deaths equals 1. So basically, if you're a Time Lord and you have died, then your death score will go up to 1 from 0. And then, if so, then comparator and let's do this. Execute at a or at E name equals regen cycle. That's that armor stand we mentioned, and it'll teleport itself 2 blocks in the Z direction, positive Z, which would be going this direction basically. So now we are at 1 regeneration. So yeah, you die as a Time Lord. What happens? Well, it moves it over to the next number, basically. And what happens when that happens? Well, these 3 command blocks do. So we do this first, which says execute as at a tag equals Time Lord, comma scores equals deaths equals 1. Run scoreboard players remove at S regenerations 1. Basically meaning if you have 1 death and you're a Time Lord, then it'll remove 1 regeneration. And then, yeah, this one doesn't actually matter. This is supposed to give you that regeneration effect for 15 minutes, but it doesn't actually work, so we'll get to that later on. So you really just need this command block, and then a repeater, and then this command block here, which is scoreboard player set at a deaths equals 1, comma tag equals Time Lord. It'll set their deaths count to 0. So basically, it keeps getting reset back to 0 after each regeneration, and once it goes to 1, it'll trigger this, therefore triggering this to the next regeneration. And then what? So next would be probably summoning that villager and whatnot. So I called it regen respawn, and it'll do that when your health is at 0. So I have a third scoreboard, and again, it's just a matter of scoreboard objectives, add health, and then it's basically just counting your health exactly like this. And basically, when that score equals 0, meaning when your health is at 0, you'll run TP at S, which basically just means teleports that exact player whose health is at 0 to themselves, which seems really counterproductive, but literally all I wanted it to do really was just then go on to power these command blocks. So yeah, this one summons the villager, execute at a tag equals Time Lord, death, or score of health is 0. So Time Lord with a health of 0, meaning basically they've just died. It's going to summon the villager, which I gave no AI, silent, and a custom name of regen respawn and invulnerable. And then it's going to immediately, at the same time, TP that villager to myself. So exactly the second I die, it will summon the villager and then teleport it to me. Basically just so it's facing the same direction as me. I guess that's not really required, but it's nice. But this is obviously required to get the villager to spawn. This is the grace period. So execute at E, name equals regen respawn, run, effect give, at a tag equals Time Lord, and distance equals 2 blocks. So basically, it'll just give them the effect, and then immediately after it gives them the effect, it will basically how it even like gets you to that distance though is that immediately when you respawn, meaning when your health goes back up to 20, TP at a tag equals Time Lord, scores equals death or health of 20. It'll teleport that player with the new health over to regen respawn, limit equals 1. So yeah, basically you immediately after you respawn are getting teleported to that villager, and then this one, execute at regen respawn if entity tag equals TIMELORD, health is 20, distance is 2. So if the player is right there, having just respawned and then teleported to the villager, then it will execute at itself. If the player is within that distance, it'll kill the villager, basically. So it'll immediately die the moment you respawn, and then are teleported to it, and then it will also tag at a scores equals regenerations equals 0. It'll tag that Time Lord with remove Time Lord. So that's basically when you run out of regenerations, it'll remove the Time Lord tag from you. And speaking of which, if we go along this cycle and it gets to your 12th regeneration, then there's a couple more armor stands here, or not armor stands, command blocks. Basically these are the same. Yeah, that's the same. It resets death to 0, but then immediately after, there's 2 more new ones at this end of your 12th regeneration, which is TP is the regen cycle back to the beginning, and then scoreboard player set at a tag equals Time Lord, regenerations back to 0. So yeah, that's what I was saying, basically, that it reverts you back to being a human once you have died. So yeah, then we have this, toggles keep inventory, and basically execute if entity at a tag equals Time Lord. So if a Time Lord exists, then run game rule keep inventory true, and if not, then this inverter will happen, and game rule keep inventory false. And finally, I guess, would be this, which is just the actual regeneration effect itself, the particles and the sounds. And that's very simple. It's just a matter of execute at regen respawn, do flame particles 1.65, so it's about at the head level, and then these are just deltas, basically, just telling it like how far to go from it. And I just set those really low, basically, so that basically just forms like a bit of a sphere around the head. And then I don't remember what this 0 right here is, but the 20 is the count of particles, and then force basically just means the players will see them even if they have particles turned off, basically. And then right here, execute if entity at e name equals regen respawn, run play sound, block note block chime, ambient at a, yada yada yada. And then these just correspond to like the volume and the pitch is slightly lower than it normally would be. So yeah, you can play with whatever sounds you want really for this, or even whatever particles you want as well. But I chose that chiming sound because when it runs on repeat via the command block, it kind of sounds like the little ringing sound that regeneration makes in the show. So yeah, I think I've covered all of these blocks. Yeah, this thing was kind of complex to make. Like I said, it took me like 3 days. So yeah, that I believe is everything, and I will just show you the regeneration in action. There we go. Let's just demonstrate one last time. Whew, before I run out of breath from all that talking very fast. Yeah. So I have 12 regenerations, so let's try this. Summon Creeper. There we go, it's working. Where's the ringing sound? I didn't hear it. That was weird. Anyway, you can see I regenerated, and we can do it again. And yeah, you saw the bed for a moment there, because it respawned me there and then teleported me back here. But yeah, this is basically how the system works. I am so glad to finally have this system working after an entire 3 days. So yeah, yeah, big thanks to Neark for showing me how this was done, basically. My system's kind of different than his, but it has some similarities, like the golden apple thing, for example. So yeah, big thanks to him for basically getting me started on this. regenerating. And there we go. Awesome. So yeah, again, big thanks to Neark. Big thanks to Chicken Man. He just kind of helped me out with some of the commands. But yeah. Big feature. Cool feature. Probably doesn't work in multiplayer feature. I might get together with Chicken Man and work on that, but for now, this is what I have. So yeah, this has been Regeneration Recreated in Minecraft. I have been Tebow2. Be sure to subscribe, to follow my Instagram, Tebow2YT, to follow my Twitter, which is also Tebow2YT, to join my Discord, and lastly, to have a nice day. Goodbye.